We're back to the Roadshow booth here at the North American International Auto Show, powered by CNET. This is also known as the Detroit Auto Show. It's the biggest auto show in the U.S., and the man responsible for putting on that show is Rod Alberts, Executive Director here. Rod, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great being here, and having you on site here during the press days are huge for us, so thank you.
It's our pleasure. We're pretty happy to be here right on the show floor, right next to Toyota, right next to Volvo, right next to a lot of major announcements that have been happening this year. There's been a lot of buzz. If I can ask you, can you pick a car of the show so far, or is it too early for that?
You know what I love about this show? You'll get me in trouble if I pick a car out here, no doubt about that.
You can't pick no favorite children, is that how it goes?
But I'll tell you right now, the truck of the year with the Volvo, that's an amazing vehicle, and I've been driving one for the past couple months. I switch cars quite a bit, but it's great to see companies like Volvo come back and do what they're doing now with both the technology in the engines and just styling. So that across the board, everybody brings their best to the best to Detroit during the two-day period, and I call it kind of like a Kentucky Derby. You never know until you get here who's going to come out on top on the media coverage and the impact that they have on the show. So that's the beauty of the show. All this unveiled over a couple days that we have here, and then after you have 50 intros, the world decides which one's on top from the get-go. So it's a good gig, and that's why the North American Auto Show is so popular.
And it's the same for us. We get early access to a lot of this stuff, so we're in a privileged position to know some of the surprises. But even so, there were plenty of surprises here in the show floor for us. And it's always different. You know, you get a gallery of pictures, but you get on the show floor, you see the thing in the sheet metal. It's a different experience.
Yeah. You know, we really believe in, we do the layout, and if you look at the show floor this year, it's a whole new layout. A lot of the brands have separated. They want their own identity, which makes every brand wanting to come out with their best product and the image to the manufacturer. So yeah, I think, again, what's happening here is a good, just from the landscape of what's going on in the industry and the economy, it all comes and exudes right out of here. It brings it all together in one place and makes you feel how important the auto industry is.
Now, this is not only the biggest North American show, it's also a very historic show. Can you walk me through kind of the history of the show? How long has it been around, and how long have people been gathering here to embrace the beauty of sheet metal?
You know, it's an interesting, there wasn't an absolute first show. It goes back to 1901, and during that time, we were combined. There weren't enough cars around. There were only 4 or 5 cars, and they were all black. You know how this goes? They were just one color. And they had, it was combined with a fishing and hunting show. So we were just a couple cars alongside fishing rods and lures and that, and then also animal heads. So it was. So
taxidermy too. One-stop shop for everything you need in 1901.
Everything you needed, right? But it did progress pretty quickly by going into the 1910 and 20s. But that history side, for 80 years we were a regional show, and it moved over the course of many years from different armories and beer gardens and that type of thing until the 60s when we had Cobo Center built, and then later expanded back in the 80s, and then just this past year, this incredible renovation, $300 million spent on the building, and doing it the right way to make this building more attractive for other conventions too, but high-res screens outside, a lot of technology in the building now. It's almost like a brand new building in itself.
It's absolutely great, and it's great to see the show evolving and the booths evolving. I was here yesterday, and Toyota basically had an empty booth that they were using just to show off cars as like an amphitheater almost. And now we came in this morning, and they'd rolled out 100 different cars in their stage.
They transition. It is quite incredible. They'll transition from press days to what we call industry preview days. They did the Lexus press conference in the Toyota booth, and you have to make it all fit for the press that come in and for the coverage you're doing. But every one in the building this year, we probably have 70 to 80% new displays this year.
Wow.
Let alone a new layout. That when I even walk in, I become a little disoriented. I did the floor plan. But when you have 35 or 40 brands and you have big displays, and we see this as a hybrid show in many ways. Combining the big displays like you see in Frankfurt, but the Geneva Country Club feel, so when you come in, that you can walk this show floor and you're going to see every OEM, every executive from the manufacturers and suppliers in a short distance. It's all in one room. So you get the Country Club feel with the big displays and a great layout. It makes a new face for the show and a new face for the industry in Detroit. It makes Detroit shine too.
And of course, we're on the second of the media preview days, effectively, which is day 2 for us, which usually for a lot of journalists is the end of the show. As far as they're concerned, they'll take off tonight and go home. But really, it's just the beginning of the show. Can you walk me through the schedule of the show overall? Because really, the best is yet to come.
I think it's important. Just for a moment here to go back to 2008 and 9. We grew this show incrementally for the first 25 years. And I really believed in that because you want to get a little bit better each year. In 2008-9, the bottom fell out, and I realized we had to rebuild in a hurry. So what occurred in that period of time is we had less press conferences, fewer brands out there. A lot of them sold to other companies and other parent companies. In the last 5 years, we changed our game plan a bit. And I think it's important I think parallels in the industry. You don't want to be too complacent in what you're doing. Whatever you do, and you're competitive, because everything in the world is competitive in whatever line of business you're in. I learned quickly after doing a show for 20 years that you have to get aggressive and get creative again, and get your juices going. So what we went through in 08 and 09 was a great thing, but it did condense our press days into 1 day at one time. We used to have 3 days, then we did down to 1 day. Now we're back to 2 full days. And having 2 days like this in a row where you have all those great products yesterday that came out that are just going to change the industry, and all the consumers are going to be paying attention.
Right.
But today you had a lot of the ultra luxury vehicles that are coming out with what is going to be out there for the buyers that can afford. After today, these 2 days, we go into industry preview days where we'll have about 3,000 suppliers from 26 countries, 35. Or so. Maybe I have more countries than that. But you get to charity preview after that, where we're going to raise $5 million. We'll have 13,000 people here.
That's the Gallant Auto Prom, as I've heard it called.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, but everybody dresses up that night. I'm not sure how much the cars are the focus, because everybody's got their dress on. And
I've never been, and I'm going this year.
So you are?
It'll be my first time wearing a bow tie, so I hope you'll tell me if it's straight.
You can do the show in a bow tie? I can't wait.
That's good. Bow tie, just for you.
Well, good. Well, you'll have to be my date.
Sounds wonderful. My wife might object, but that's okay.
Yeah, we better not talk about that. So all in all, we'll have things really shine that night. 3 hours, we'll raise $5 million. Everybody in town's out, dignitary-wise. Then after that, we have Huey Lewis coming out, and it's 30 years since Back to the Future, and now we even have hoverboards out there. That was a big Christmas gift this year.
That's a little debatable. They're called hoverboards.
They really don't hover, do they?
They just burn.
Yeah.
That's all they do. But you've got another special guest coming next week. I believe a certain president of a certain very important country in the world is going to be stopping by.
Yeah, we had a call this past week, and it was a day before that it was announced by the press, but having President Obama come in, which is interesting. I was here director back in 1999 when Clinton came through, and it was right after the Lewinsky situation, if you can imagine that, back in that time. That's been 17 years ago.
Yeah.
But he came through the show, and it does change a little bit of the security side. You got to do things you normally wouldn't do. But having President Obama come in does give some, from a standpoint of the signature event that we have in North America, the Detroit show that we have here and how proud we are, I think it gives it a lot more boost to what it's all about, and how important it is with this trillion-dollar economy that the auto industry brings across the board. And it's good to have the president come in again. We go back to having Eisenhower back in the late 50s, having Clinton come in, and now having President Obama come back. And what he did for the auto industry, it's just a great thing for us.
It's got to be a bit of a security and logistical challenge, I imagine.
They bring in their advance team. I can't say much about that right now. They don't tell you a whole lot till they get here. But, there's things that you have to do to make sure you're secure. But think about this. You got a public show going on.
Right.
So I hope we don't have too much disruption. But he will, walk the show floor and say hello to people and meet with the manufacturers that he's been so aligned with for that 7 or 8 years.
Do you think he's a Lincoln Continental kind of guy?
That's a good question. I hear he's a car guy.
Yeah, I bet he is.
So I would imagine, I'm not sure how much he's driven in the last 7 or 8 years.
Probably not very much.
So he's going to have to get used to that again, possibly. I'm not sure that changes. But I think that Lincoln today would, that'd be of interest. Just even here we have a lot of these ultra luxury cars with the Rob Report and others that are here.
Right.
But having those cars at show floor and have the president come through, it can't be all bad.
Now, we've had an interesting cadence coming into the show. We had CES last week, and there were a lot of automotive announcements there. Yeah. And a lot of those stories ultimately set up unveilings here. So, for example, Mercedes-Benz was teasing the E-Class last week and talking about some of the autonomous functionality ahead of the big global debut here for the E-Class. What's the relationship like between CES and Detroit, and how that cadence is flowing from one show to the next on the automotive side of things?
We find it interesting. CES is a very good show. They have their place. Vegas is a great convention location. Yeah. But they have such a blend of product and technologies down there that the auto industry is just a piece of that. I think it's important. Obviously, the technology is such a big part of the car today, and it's accelerated faster than we ever thought. And with the younger generation, the millenniums are believing in the connectivity and all the things that go, electrification, everything that they want. I think that is, we have to focus on that too. There is, when you have car unveilings here in Detroit, and it can be about the design and styling and engineering and that type of thing, but it's technology. I went to the E-Class unveiling here, and they talk technology 80% of the time. So you're going to hear technology here. We're going to plan big things next year on the technology side for Detroit. We have a lot of that here already anyway, but there's a place when you have so much unveiling in product and technology, and 65 auto shows in the U.S. and another 45 or 50 around the world, there's a place for everybody in this industry to put the auto industry the best foot forward, not just in styling, engineering, but also in technology, and we're a part of that.
And we're very glad to be part of that too. We're very thrilled to be here on the show floor. Ron, thank you so much for helping us make that happen and for allowing us to be a part of this incredible show.